Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. I have been studying A Course in Miracles for 35 years now, and it is my path to heaven, my path to God. It is the most empowering path that I know of. And Course in Miracles does not claim to be the only path, for there are many paths, but it does claim to be one clear path, one very clear path. And when I can truly embody and live the concepts that I know to be true, I feel so good. It is a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, it is a lifelong challenge for me to discipline my mind to connect to the truth of who I am. I do know that we always have a choice. We, in this world that is run by the egoic thought system, we can choose God or love or the angel that we have on one shoulder, and we can experience the peace, love, joy, and happiness of God. Or we can choose the devil or the ego that we have on our other shoulder and not experience the truth of who we are. It's love or it's anxiety, and we have the choice at each and every moment. I usually end with the introduction of the Course in Miracles. Today I think I will begin and end with it because it is so beautiful. Jesus writes in the introduction, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. What that means is the only thing that's real is the love. There is nothing else. So when we focus on the truth of who we are, when we focus on the truth and the beauty in whomever we come across during the day, then we feel so good. And God's power, it's calm, it's clear, it's trusting, it's open, and we always have access to that infinite power and that infinite wisdom. And another point that I've been stressing on my weekly Pal Talks lately is the title of my book is Surrender to Joy. And Jesus is very clear in A Course in Miracles that love and joy can be used interchangeably. Because when we are in a state of joy, we can feel the love of God. And when we are extending love to our brother, we can feel the joy of God. The love of God is the joy of God, and the joy of God is the love of God. And to reside in this high energetic frequency is so empowering and so beautiful. And the way we can access it is to recognize our complete and total dependence upon God. It says in A Course in Miracles that God needs us as much as we need Him. But we need to remember that of our own strength, we are nothing. We can do nothing. But when we surrender to his will, when we recognize that we are completely dependent upon him and we allow his wisdom to be channeled through our body, we feel so great when we allow the essence of God to be channeled through us. When we allow ourselves to be a conduit for God's divine love, we feel so good. And the way we express it is different. You know, A Course in Miracles teaches us to be miracle workers. And what is a miracle? A miracle is anything that comes from love. When we are tapped into source energy, when we are plugged into our God socket, we express God's love. Now, we all have different personalities. We all have a different sense of humor. We all have different ways of expressing ourselves. But the one commonality that all miracle workers have is they come from a place of love. And people know that. When I love my brother, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter how I say it. But my brother knows when I love him. People can sense that. And even if I get a word wrong, even if I say something that lacks clarity, like, it doesn't matter. There's just a huge difference when I come from a place of love. My brother is going to hear me. And when I come from a place of fear, there's a big possibility my brother is going to tune me out, or he is going to get defensive, or he is going to shut down. There is a big difference between coming from love and coming from fear. When I come from love, I can say the perfect thing in the perfect, well, when I come from love, I should say, I don't have to say the perfect thing in the perfect way, but my brother is going to be appreciative of my words. When I come from a place of fear, I should say, even if I say the perfect thing in the perfect way, my brother is going to sense that fear and he's probably going to back away. The introduction of my book starts out, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with 3 simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. Now, the reason that there is nothing to find in the world is because there is no world. The external experience that we have is nothing more than a reflection of an internal condition. So the world is always mirroring back to us the dominant thoughts in our mind. That's why it's so important to start each day out from a foundation of love. So we focus on the beauty that we all have access to inside of us. And then as we come from a place of unconditional love, we start seeing reflections of who we are in the world. Today's lesson, today is the 41st day of 2025. Time flies, doesn't it? And today's lesson is so beautiful. It really is so beautiful. Lesson 41 states, God goes with me wherever I go, which means I am never alone. When I feel separate from my creator, that's when fear sets in. What is fear? False evidence appearing real. Fear sets in when I feel separate from God, but the truth is, I am never separate from God. He is always with me. And today's lesson stresses that God is always with me. And I have been repeating that to myself throughout the day. And it has been a pretty good day so far. And what Jesus writes in lesson 41, he writes, today's idea will eventually overcome completely the sense of loneliness and abandonment all the separated ones experience. Depression is an inevitable consequence of separation. So are anxiety, worry, a deep sense of helplessness, misery, suffering, and intense fear of loss. So Jesus is telling us that when we do feel fear, when we do feel depressed, when we do feel anxious, it's because we forget that God is with us. We forget the truth of who we are. We forget the true power of God that is available to us at each and every minute. I think what we need to do is a lot of the time it's slow down and be fully present in the moment and breathe, take a pause. I think it's a mental discipline too. I remember when I was quitting smoking, every time that I would feel anxious and I would want to smoke a cigarette, I had this mantra. I would pause, I would breathe, and I would say, what if everything is just perfect right here, right now? It's accepting the moment exactly as it is. Because again, whenever we're aligned with depression, whenever we're connected to loneliness, whenever we're connected to separation, whenever we feel anxious, it's because we have allowed the egoic thought system to enter our mind. I mean, the world is run by the egoic thought system. That's what's going on in the world today. But Course in Miracles is teaching us a whole different way, a diametrically opposed way of seeing the world. A Course in Miracles is teaching us to love and to love truly. We can't find that love in the world. We need to find that love within ourselves. We need to find that love within our heart. I mean, when I am trusting during the day, when I am connected to source energy during the day, when I am connected to my creator during the day, I feel this calmness in my heart. And it's such a beautiful feeling. And then when I don't feel that calm feeling in my heart and I stress, when I don't trust the energy of God and I stress, that's just there's so much anxiety that I feel, and I kind of sway back and forth. And that's why I say it's a mental discipline to focus on love. It's a mental discipline to focus on the truth of who we are. That's why repeating these lessons throughout the day is so very helpful. God goes with me wherever I go. God is always with me. And then the second paragraph reads, the separated ones have invented many cures for what they believe to be the ills of the world. But the one thing they do not do is to question the reality of the problem. A Course in Miracles is telling us that there is no problem. Our only problem is that we feel as though we are disconnected from God, but we are never disconnected from God. So the one problem is that we feel disconnected from God. But it's not really a problem because we can't disconnect ourselves from God. We don't have that power. God created us in his image and we are a part of him, whether we like it or not. But I sure do like it because when I remember how much strength and how much love is available to me at each and every moment, I feel so good. The one thing they do not do is to question the reality of the problem. Yet its effects cannot be cured because the problem is not real. The idea for today has the power to end all this foolishness forever. And foolishness it is, despite the serious and tragic forms it may take. And then Jesus goes on to write, deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. Deep within us, we have everything that we could possibly desire in the world. All the love that we think we need from something in the world is within us. So it's about acknowledging and remembering the truth of who we really are. That is what A Course in Miracles teaches. It's like peeling the layers of the onion, right? We're peeling the layers of the onion, and then deep within us, we find like all the glory, all the greatness, all the beauty. And it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful because again, there's nothing to find. It's just about acknowledging how much love is available to us at each and every moment. Deep within you is everything that is perfect, ready to radiate through you and out into the world. It will cure all sorrow and pain and fear and loss because it will heal the mind that thought those things were real and suffered out of its allegiance to them. I'll read one more paragraph. It's funny when you read A Course in Miracles, sometimes the words are difficult to understand, but when you can really embody the meaning of this truth, it's so empowering. I've heard so many Course in Miracles students slash teachers, read the Course in Miracles on YouTube and Zoom and really digest the meaning of the words that they are reading. And I've seen them cry and cry not out of sadness, but out of joy because they're feeling how much they are loved. They're feeling how much love there is in their hearts that God wants us to extend. My husband was listening to a Course in Miracles lesson this morning on YouTube. And the teacher started crying tears of joy because she could feel the truth of the words that she was reading. And my husband just loved this lesson so much. And he loved the fact that she was crying. So he kept replacing it, replaying it. He kept replaying it over and over. The couple sentences that she was crying, he kept replaying them because he loved to experience the joy that she was embodying, the joy that she was acknowledging. I think that joy is contagious when we can really connect to God's divine energy. It's contagious. Because again, A Course in Miracles is just words. Words in themselves are meaningless, but the thoughts, the love that these words are attempting to convey are all powerful. The words are a communication tool, and the words of A Course in Miracles are teaching us how to love. And that's such a beautiful thing when we can align our thoughts with the mind of God, which we all can do. It's such a beautiful state to reside in. And again, God goes with all of us wherever we go, and if we can't find him, there are different ways to access him. One real simple way to access God is to see him in our brother, because whatever we focus on in another, we feel within ourselves. So when I focus on the beauty and the love in my brother, I feel that beauty and that love within myself. God is all over. God is all that is. And then the next paragraph reads, I hope I am on the right paragraph here. Paragraph number 4 reads, you can never be deprived of your perfect holiness because its source goes with you wherever you go. You can never suffer because the source of all joy goes with you wherever you go. Like I said, joy and love can be used interchangeably. Joy and love are synonyms. The source of all joy goes with me wherever I go. You can never be alone because the source of all life goes with you wherever you go. Nothing can destroy your peace of mind because God goes with you wherever you go. So it's all about remembering that. It's all about focusing on that. It's all about just breathing that in. And we are never alone. We are never alone. We can only find the peace that we are craving when our mind is aligned with God's. That's the only time that we can find the peace that we are truly craving. And as I focus on the beauty in my brother, I feel that beauty within myself. As I focus on the shortcomings in my brother, I feel the flaws in myself. But as I focus on the beauty in my brother, and that beauty has nothing to do with the body, that's such an important point to remember. That beauty has to do with the soul, the essence. As I focus on the beauty in my brother, the essence of who he truly is, I feel the essence of who I truly am. So it's about seeing through the external to the essence, because bodies cannot join. Jesus tells us that over and over again. I cannot connect with my brother through his body. I mean, physical connection, I mean, it can be beautiful or it can be nothing at all, because we cannot truly connect with our brother through his body or her body. The only real connection we can make with our brother is through our minds. That's what Jesus tells us. He can connect with us. He's no longer in a body form, but he can connect with us through our minds. And whenever we call on him, whenever we call on Christ, whenever we call on the Holy Spirit, they're always there to answer us, to empower us, to love us. Course in Miracles tells us that we need just a little willingness. We have free choice in this world, but we need just a little willingness. And when we call out for help from our higher self, the Holy Spirit is always there to guide us and to love us. Um, I was working yesterday at a store, and it was an interesting job. It was interesting. I actually was handing out some samples of drinks to consumers. And there was this one little 8-year-old girl, if I was to guess her age, and I always say children are so beautiful, because they're innocent. I think that's a big component in the beauty of a child, their innocence. That's what Course in Miracles is teaching us to do, connect with our innocence. So I'm talking to this 8-year-old little girl, and I told her that she was so pretty. And she said, "Thank you." And I said, "Well, how did you get so pretty in only 8 years?" So she tilted her head and she thought about it for a moment. And then she says, "I don't know. I just am, I guess." And it was so beautiful because there was no arrogance about her response to my question. She didn't try to remain humble and say, "Oh, I'm not pretty." She didn't try to take credit and say, "It's because I work out every day and I eat lots of broccoli." She just thought about it and she replied, "Well, I don't know. I just am, I guess." I mean, it's so beautiful because it's so innocent. It's so innocent. And if we could all remember how very loved we are, that would change the world. Just think about it. Just think about accepting that compliment, you know, and the beauty that I saw in that little girl. Yeah, I was commenting on her appearance, but it really wasn't about her appearance. It was about the essence of who she was on the inside. She was beautiful. And imagine someone saying that to you, Imagine someone saying to you, "God sees the beauty in you. God sees the truth in you." Imagine just like accepting the fact that I am beautiful. I am loved. I have no reason to fear. That's just such a beautiful state of mind to reside in. And it's not arrogant. It's not arrogant to remember how beautiful we are. That's not arrogant. That is of God. It's resisting his love that is actually arrogant. When we resist the fact that we are perfect and beautiful, that is arrogant. That is of the ego. That is not of God. God wants us to remember that we are beautiful and we are perfect and we are loved. But it's not about anything that we do. It's about the essence of who we are. We were created in the image of God, and God is beautiful, and God is perfect, and we are an extension of Him. And to remember that is what God wants us to do all day long, at each and every moment. So, so all we need to do is accept that God gave everything to us and we have everything that we need within us. But it is not of us. It is of He who created us. We just need to accept how wonderful we are. And again, it's not arrogant it's not arrogance of the ego. It's not arrogance of the ego. It's the beauty and the strength of our creator that we have access to at each and every moment when we can just accept it, when we can just recognize it, when we can just remember it. So what we need to do throughout the day to remember how beautiful we are and how much love we have within us is to extend that love to our brother. That's what we do. How do we know what's inside us? How do we know? We know how much love we have within us when we give it away to our brother. That's how we know. So, miracles are extending God's love, and miracles are always a win win. It says here in A Course in Miracles, in the manual for teachers, I think I gave an example on Friday, right here on Pal Talk YouTube. I said to the world, if I give you $10, that means I no longer have that $10. So that's a lose win or a win lose. That's what the world calls giving. But in A Course in Miracles, there is no such thing as a win lose scenario. In A Course in Miracles, when I give something to you, I remember how much I have within me to give, and I don't lose anything at all. In fact, I need to give to you so I know how much love I have within my heart to give. Because ideas and love and non tangible things are the only things that matter. So, A Course in Miracles has a completely different way of seeing giving. There is no loss, there is no sacrifice. Everything is win win. God knows nothing of sacrifice. That's only of the ego. And the ego isn't real. True giving is as empowering for the receiver as it is for the giver. True giving is as empowering for the giver as it is for the receiver. And it's always about quality. We're never better than or worse than anyone that we come across. It's all about equality. God has but one son, and we are all part of that very same sonship. I think some people are closer to the truth of who they are than others at different times, but that's temporary because ultimately we're all going to be one with God. We're all going home to heaven. There is no hell. We're all going to be in heaven. And heaven will not be complete until all beings have made it home. So that's why it's when one person is struggling, it's the other person's responsibility to help him up. I mean, we're all here for each other. So here in the manual for teachers, this is under Roman numeral 7, generosity. These are in the manual for teachers is what are the characteristic of God's teachers. So the Roman numeral 7 says generosity. And what Jesus writes here, he writes to the world, generosity means giving away in the sense of giving up. Okay. In the world, generosity means I need to give something away. And when I give this thing away, I'm no longer going to have it. When I give you $10, I'm going to be $10 poorer. I'm going to have $10 less. But A Course in Miracles is saying, no, no, no. That's what the world teaches, but that's not the truth. That's not what God is teaching. It says here to the teachers of God, it means giving away in order to keep. Like, how beautiful is that? In order to keep something, I need to give it away. The only way I know that I have it is by giving it to my brother. So, to the teachers of God, and we're all teachers of God, we're all teachers and students, alike. So, to the teachers of God, it means giving away in order to keep. So, I need to give away God's love so I know how much love I have within me. I need to give peace so I know how much peace I have within me. I need to give joy so I know how much joy I have within me. So when I give it away, I can feel the essence of who I am. This has been emphasized throughout the text and the workbook, and it is perhaps more alien to the thinking of the world than many other ideas in our curriculum. Its greater strangeness lies merely in the obviousness of its reversal of the world's thinking. I mean, it is so different than what the world teaches, isn't it? The world teaches us to hold on to what we have because we might need it in the future, right? We need to hoard. We need to hold on to our belongings, you know. I know I think I have a tendency to hoard sometimes to hold on to my belongings, but that is it's silly. It's not of God. A Course in Miracles is teaching us to give generously, to give out of abundance. Because when everything is in the mind, when I can give out of the knowledge that I am abundant, everything is going to come back to me and more. You know, I've heard many spiritual teachers talk about tithing. Give 10%, give 20% of all your earnings to the church or to a cause, or just give a certain percentage of what you earn, give it away. But the thing is, it's like when you feel comfortable giving, then what you do is you develop an abundant mindset. And because the world is nothing more but a reflection of our thought system, when I realize how much abundance I have access to at each and every moment, that is what my experience in life is going to be. People that hold on to things feel deprived. And that's what they create. They create a life of scarcity. But people that know that they have access to abundance, to everything, they give because they know there is no lack. So if we want to experience an abundant mindset and an abundant life, we need to give. Again, we don't give to get, but because everything that we experience is a result of our belief, abundance is going to come into our life because that is the truth that we recognize, right? When we give, we remember how much we have access to at each and every moment. I remember one time when I was living in New York City, I was reading one of my self-help books. I think I've been a self-help book junkie for as long as I can remember. And one of my spiritual self-help books, kind of told me this principle. Okay, if you want to open yourself up to receive the abundance of the universe, you need to give. You need to give to be able to recognize how much abundance you have access to. And I said, okay, I am going to give. And I didn't have all that much money in my bank account at the time, but I remember I went to Citibank and I think I took out like all the money I had in there. It wasn't very much. It was a few $100s. I said, and I've always been an extreme person. So I said, okay, I'm going to take all my money out of the bank and I am going to give it away. So I was going to a Unity church in Manhattan at the time. So I took this 300 and something dollars and I went to Unity Church and I put this money in the basket when they were, asking for donations. And I was to myself, but the reason that I gave away that money is because I wanted to receive more money, so I kind of had the mentality, okay, God, I gave you some money, I gave the church some money, now I want my money, I want double, I want triple, I want 10 times the amount of money back. Well, it never came back to me, and a short time after that, or a long time after that, I don't remember now, but I learned my lesson. We can't give because we expect to receive more in return. That's not giving of God. That's giving of our ego, right? And the ego is nothing. The ego is nonsensical. The ego is kind of crazy, you know? And eventually I learned my lesson. But the reason that we give to our brother is not to get anything in return. The reason that we give to our brother is to remember how much we have within us. And true giving feels so good when we're truly giving out of joy, out of abundance, out of love. True giving feels so good. God is giving to us all day long because God loves his son so very much. It says in A Course in Miracles, God needs me as much as I need him. He is loving me all day long. He is giving me his love all day long, and all he wants me to do is accept his love and extend that love to my brother. And that makes God so very happy. We give again, not to get, but we give because we can remember how much love we have within us when we give it away. Why do we give? We give because it feels great. It feels great because we were created in God's image, you see? So when we act in accordance with our true nature, we feel the joy of who we really are. We feel the joy of God. God gives to us, and we were created to give to our brother. And we don't necessarily get something back from that brother, but we get to remember the truth of who we are. We get to remember God's glory and God's greatness and God's joy. It's like when we start living the truth of who we are, when we start kind of copying the essence of our creator, we remember the truth and we feel joyful, and this is how the world will be healed. This is how the world will be healed. So it says here, I have no idea what sentence I'm on, actually. It's just words are meaningless, right? It's just digesting these concepts. Why do we give? We give because it feels good. That's why we give, And it says here, okay, it says here, its greater strangeness lies merely in the obviousness of its reversal of the world's thinking in the clearest way possible and at the simplest of levels. The word means the exact opposite to the teachers of God and to the world. So we give away in order to keep. We give love away in order to keep love. We give kindness away in order to keep kindness. We give peace away in order to keep peace. We to the teachers of God, and we are all teachers and students, giving away in order to keep is what we need to remember. So if you want something, if you're feeling under the weather, if you're feeling a little cranky, if you're feeling deprived, the best way to get out of that feeling is to go somewhere and to love and to give. That's a spiritual principle that I've heard for years and years. If you feel deprived in any way at all, go out into the world, volunteer for something, give something to your brother. A lot of times I'll be, riding around a rotary, and sometimes I see someone who is playing the part of a homeless man in this lifetime or a homeless woman in this lifetime, standing at the side of the rotary asking for some money. I'll give this person money and I'll thank him and I'll bless him. And that's what I need to do to open my heart. And it works. I don't give for their sake. I give for my sake, because I'm opening myself up to accept the love of God and the abundance of the universe, and I'm sure it benefits them because they always thank me and they bless me. But more than that, it helps me remember my own abundance. And it's not the money that I focus on. I focus on the love. I focus on the beauty in this homeless person, or this person who's playing the part of a homeless man in this lifetime. It's not the money. It's the fact that I bless him and I thank him and I love him and I see Christ's face in him. I think that was a part. I was talking to my friend about that movie with Jim Carrey and Jennifer Aniston and Morgan Freeman last night. It was Bruce Almighty. And I think at the end of the movie, um, one of the actors went up to a homeless person and said something nice to him, and the homeless person turned into God, which is so beautiful. It's all, the whole movie was all about symbolism. The character in this movie, the Bruce Almighty movie, went to a homeless person, and I don't know what the interaction between the actor and the homeless person was, but I know as they extended love to the homeless person in the movie, the homeless person turned into God. And that can happen whenever we extend love to anyone. They turn into Christ. We see the Christ in them. We see God's beauty in them. And they feel God's beauty in themselves, because we are all gods and goddesses. And when we see that beauty in our brother, we feel that beauty in ourselves, and also they feel that beauty with themselves. And that's the miracle. And it's so beautiful, and it's always there, and it's always available. And when you really understand how beautiful a miracle is, it just brings tears of joy to your mind and to your heart. And and again, it's always there. It's always there. It's always available. All we need to do is tune in to Christ consciousness, tune into that channel, tune into the channel that's set on God. We always have a choice. So the next paragraph here, in the manual for teachers, I'll just read the next line. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. And then self is spelt with a capital S, meaning it's divine. The teacher of God is generous out of self-interest. This does not refer, however, to the self of which the world speaks. Oh, this is so good. The teacher of God does not want anything he cannot give away because he realizes it would be valueless to him by definition. Isn't that interesting? He doesn't want anything that he can't give away because it has no value. The only thing that makes something meaningful is the ability to give it away. It says here, what would he want it for? He could only lose because of it. He could not gain. Therefore, he does not seek what only he could keep, because that is a guarantee of loss. He does not want to suffer. Why should he ensure himself pain? So the only things that are of value are things that we can give away. So when I give out of abundance, I realize how much abundance is available to me at each and every moment. I mean, it's about having an abundant mindset. It's about realizing that I am never deprived, realizing that I am never alone. So, now I have another story. I have another story that I just remembered that was a nice learning lesson that happened to me yesterday at this job that I had. I was at a store. I was giving out samples. I had a supervisor who was also an ordained minister in a Christian church. And he was telling me this story, this biblical story, which I thought was really wonderful. He spoke of Paul. I guess Paul was a disciple of Jesus. And there's a biblical story how Paul had his eyes focused on Jesus Christ, and then all of a sudden, I guess he stepped out onto the water. And because his eyes were focused on Jesus, he was able to walk on water. But then all of a sudden, he lost his focus. He realized that he was standing on water. Fear came into his mind and he sank. And I had never heard this biblical story because I don't know the Bible all that well. But I thought that the meaning behind the story was very beautiful, and it is definitely something, an idea that Course in Miracles talks about as well. When we keep our mind focused on the power of love, when we keep our mind focused on Christ-like consciousness, when we keep our mind just focused on God and love and our beauty and our divinity, there is nothing that we cannot do. We can walk on water. We can move mountains. We can do anything because all the power of God is available to each and every one of us all the time. But when we fear, when we, for whatever the reason, allow our ego and our fear to come in, then we sink, then we lose all power. Just like Paul had his eyes focused on Jesus, he could walk on water, and then all of a sudden the fear set in, and he sank. And I thought that was a beautiful Christian story, a beautiful biblical story about how important it is to discipline our mind to focus on the light, discipline our mind to focus on the love. So I think that enlightenment is about remembering the truth of who we are. I think we all kind of swing in and out of enlightenment, don't we? I mean, throughout the day, there are times that I'm connected to God. There are times that I remember how much love is available to me. And then the ego kicks in and I get triggered and I feel angst and I feel stressed. And then I pray, and then I plug myself back into my God socket. But God is always available to us. So it's all about disciplining our mind to stay plugged in to the power of love as often as possible. And remember, love and joy are synonyms. Love and joy are interchangeable, you know? And on that note, I will end with the introduction of A Course in Miracles, which states nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. Thank you so much for being here with me. I love my time here and Gather for A Course in Miracles. So I